Hello folks, welcome back to my channel. I am glad to present my latest open source project, Restful E-Commerce, a simple Node e-commerce application for testing RESTful web services. In this video, I will be taking you over a tour of this project considering the following points. Introduction, we'll talk about what the project is about and then move on to how to install the project, run the project using Node, run the project using Docker. We will also talk about the unit test covered up in this particular project, how to navigate to the Swagger docs, and how to import the project in Postman using Swagger.json. And finally, we'll also discuss around the APIs in details. So let's begin with the round of introduction first. RESTful e-commerce is a simple Node e-commerce application for testing RESTful web services. This application is built for testers for practicing API testing using tools like Postman, where you can test the APIs manually, or using the API test automation tools like SuperTest, Rest Assured, Playwright, Cypress, Boyka-Framework, etc. And let me also show you the project that is available on GitHub here. So you may move on to the link given in my repository, in my profile, mfaisal khatri/restful e-commerce. That is the project that can be used. And there is also a README available, which has all the installation and all other steps that is required for installing and running the project. Also, there is a wiki page that provides the API documentation that can also be referred to for knowing more about the details. But I'll be covering all of these details in this video, so no need to worry. Let's go hand in hand and I'll show you all other steps how to install the project. So now let's discuss how do I install this particular project and use it for my testing purpose. So what you have to do is you have to go to this repository link, github.com/mfaisalkhatri/restful e-commerce, and then here using this SSH, if you have an SSH key installed in your machine for the GitHub, you can use SSH, or maybe if you do not want the SSH key to be installed, you can directly use HTTPS and then copy this link from this particular by clicking on this button here, and it will eventually copy the link and accordingly going to the CLI. So once you open the terminal, just type in the command git clone, give it a space, and then paste the link that you just copied and press the enter key. So it will clone the repository for you, and then it will show you the name as well, like the folder where the project has been cloned. So RESTful e-commerce, a new folder has been created, and accordingly the clone has been completed in that project. The clone of this project has been completed in the respective folder. So we'll just give it as RESTful e-commerce, and then you can see here like the project is successfully cloned on my local machine. But since I already have this project available on my machine, I'll be going to the respective folder rather than just cloning and moving ahead. Let me go to GitHub and then RESTful e-commerce. I already have this project cloned here. The next step that we are going to do is running the project using Node. So first we need to run the command npm install. So ideally what happens is, let me open this VS Code and then let's open the folder which we just cloned, RESTful e-commerce. Now, if you see here, there is a package.json file. Inside it, there are different dependencies. We need all these dependencies to be installed on our local machine in order to run the project. So in order to install all of these dependencies, we just need to run the command npm install, and rest the node will take every dependency from the package.json and then install it on our machine for our for running the project. So let's run this thing now. So we can see like 238 packages have been added, and the installation is complete. Now running the project using Node. So in order to run the project, we just need to give the command node and then app.js. And you can see the server has started on this link here, http localhost:3004. So let me just give it a hit. We need to call /API docs where it will show the Swagger /API docs. And you can see the server is up and running, and we have the Swagger up and running as well. And there are 5 6 different APIs that can be seen here, like post API, get and put, patch and delete, and then there is an auth API as well, and then we have a health check API. So let's give it a try to verify if the APIs and the server is running fine. So we see a response as 200 status code, and the response body says that it's up and running since 44 seconds, and the date and time of that in the UTC format is being displayed in the response as well. This confirms that the project has started successfully. Let's stop this. So to stop this, we need to press Control C to stop the server running. But I'll show you one another command that I have already created in package.json that can be used to start. So here there is a script named as start, which actually will execute the command node space app.js. So here, let me give the command npm start instead of node space app.js. Once I give the command, you can see the same command has been executed here, and the server has started running on the local host again. So let me again copy this link, this Swagger link here, and let's close this and then reopen a new tab and do a enter key. So here we can see the Swagger is up and running. That means the server is running successfully. Let's hit the API again for the health check, and we can see like it's up and running again. Let's execute, and then we can see here it's up since 36 seconds. Again, let's execute. It's 42 seconds. That means the server is continuously running fine. So if we stop it, we can see that the server has stopped. And now if we hit this particular URL, you'll see that it's not working. It refused to connect. That means the server has stopped successfully. Now moving next, if you want to run the project using Docker. So first, let me start the Docker app. So there are two different steps that can be used. Like you can run using Docker Compose, or you can directly run using Docker build and run, but that would be a lengthy process. So we will make use of Docker Compose file to start the server and run it on the machine. So here we need to clone the repository first of all. And then if you just check out the files that are available, we can see a Docker Compose e-commerce files, docker-compose-ecommerce.yaml file is available on the root folder, right? So if I just open this file for now, you'll see the service name as Restful E-Commerce, image name as mfaisal khatri slash restful-e-commerce, and the ports 3004 has been exposed here. So let me take you to the Docker Hub, where I just posted this image today morning, and the same image can be pulled using Docker Compose. So you can see the image has been posted here, and we can see the tag as latest available over here. So when we call this run this Docker Compose file, it will actually pull up this image and then expose this local host with port 3004. Then eventually we can run the Swagger docs, or we can just test the different APIs as we want to run. So let me run it using Docker Compose now. So in the Docker Compose file, if you open, the command is already given in the comments above. The first line, Docker Compose -f. So Docker Compose -f refers to the file path. So we want to run this docker-compose-ecommerce.yaml. Up command will start the Docker Compose file, and -d will eventually run the command in the detached mode. Okay, so let me paste this here, and you can see that it is pulling the image. I have some of the image already available on my local machine. That is the reason why it shows already exists. And the thing that was not available, it pulled it from the remote repository from Docker Hub. And you can see that the container Restful E-Commerce 1 has been started successfully. So now it's simple, like let's go and hit this API docs Swagger path again, and we can see it started running successfully. Let's run this health check API again just to verify it's working. Yeah, it's working fine. We can see 30 seconds it's up and running. And this is how we can run the app project using Docker. Now, one thing more, if you want to stop this, since we are already running it in detached mode, we need to run another command that is given on line number 3 in the comments in the Docker Compose file itself, Docker Compose -f YAML down. Okay. So Docker Compose -f refers to the file name, Docker Compose e-commerce.yaml, and down refers to like we need to shut it down. And then we can see it's stopping the container. It will take some time to stop. And then we can see that the container has been removed and the network has also been removed. So if we just hit the Swagger again, it should show us an error like it refused to connect, and it's working fine. So the project that was running through Docker has been completely halted now, and it's not using any resources, and the server is also not running. Now let's move out to the next part where we talk about the unit test. But for discussing the unit test, let me start this again, as we would require this Swagger to be up and running, and also the test to be if you want to execute the test, we will have to have the APIs and the server running as well. So if you go into the project, there is a folder called test, and inside that there is a unit-test.spec. And here I am using SuperTest tool to write the unit test for this particular APIs, and I'm using Mocha as a framework. So you can see the describe section here. It mentions that unit test of e-commerce application. The base URL is it will be hitting is localhost 3004, and there are multiple tests here. So each unit of the API has been tested, of respective API has been tested. So ideally, if should perform a health check on the server, when this particular API is hit, it should return the status code 200, and the status should have a up and running message displayed here. Then similarly, if when there is no order exists, the server starts for the first time, there won't be any order existing in the system. So in that case, when we call this get all orders API, it should be equal to 404, and then the message should say no order found. Similarly, there are another unit test for invalid order format. If I'm posting some order with an invalid form, it is expected that the test data or the body request payload should be in a array format, JSON array format. But if you supply a single object there, then it should give a 400 error. Similarly, if there is any field missing in the order, it should give a kind of 400 status code and should give this message. Each order must have a user ID, product ID, and all other fields that are required here. And finally, if we supply a correct order with the correct order body payload as well, then in that case order should be accepted. We should get 201 created status code, and then message should be order added successfully. And then finally we are verifying some data as well, like the zero element, like the orders that are returned in response. In once we create an order, let me show you the Swagger. So once you create an order in the response, it should show the details of order that has been added in the system. So I already have some test data created here. So let's take those data only. Let me copy this and paste it in the payload here. And you can see it's a post add order in the request body. It's a JSON array with multiple objects. And when I execute this, you can see the curl getting successfully generated here. And then in the response, there's 201 status code with orders added successfully message. And then there's the order array. So this particular thing, orders of 0, refers to this first block. Since it's an array, the first element starts with 0. So the orders of 0, the first object, the ID should be not null. As the ID is auto-generated, I'm not sure what kind of ID number will be generated here. Hence, I'm just expecting this ID should have a kind of a value here. It should not be null. And the length of the order, since I'm supplying 4 different order objects here, I expect that in the response also there are 4 objects should be displayed. And the product name in the first order should be iPad. The value should be 699, product amount, quantity should be 1, text amount should be 7.99, and finally the total amount should be 706.99. So these are all the tests that has been written for create order. Similarly, there are multiple tests written for testing the get API, post, put, patch, delete, the authentication API with the invalid token, with correct token, and all other stuff has been added. So there are almost like around 34, 35 different unit tests that has been added in the unit test. So if you want to run the unit test, there are multiple ways you can run this unit test. In the package.json, you can see there is a test script which will eventually call the reporter and then provide the output of the test in the JSON format. But if you want to run the test and using plain Boyka-Framework, you can also do that by just calling this script run npm run unit test. So let me call this script here npm run unit test. And since I've already added the order there, so that is the reason why it shows a failure. Let me close this and again start the server. So it will be starting in a fresh mode with zero data inside, and the unit test will eventually pass then. So once you add up some of the data in the APIs, add order and all, do not try to run the unit test again until and unless you clean up all the data. Because if there is a data available, some test might start failing because we are checking. I'm checking in the unit test if there is a no data available in the system. Then in that case, it should be 404. But eventually, when you post up some of the data and then run the test again, so those respective tests which has that condition that the data should not be available, that test will start failing. So let me run this again and we can see it started. Let me clear this and run the unit test again. So you can see there are 35 tests in 101 milliseconds. All of the tests passed, and the same test have been added up in the GitHub Actions as well. So if you just go to this repository again and check out the Actions tab here. So whenever I push something to the repository, this particular actions gets targeted and it sets up the job, check out the repository, install the dependencies, runs the builds the app, and then runs the unit test as well. And you can see the test report also getting generated in the CI pipeline. There are 35 tests. It takes 104 milliseconds, and here are the test details of the unit tests that were run as a part of the unit test in the CI pipeline. So this is how the application was built, and then the unit tests were also performed to verify that all the APIs are working as expected or not. So this brings us to the end of the unit test section. Let's move on to the Swagger now. So like we discussed, if you want to check out the Swagger, you need to navigate to localhost 3004 and then API docs. And here you can see there are different APIs. The add order API, it does not have any parameters. It has a request body which needs to be supplied in the JSON array format, and there can be multiple arrays, multiple objects of JSON available, which can allow to add the orders. And in the response, you can expect two type of response coming up. If the orders get accepted successfully, so you see 201 orders created successfully, and then the respective orders are returned in the response. And if there are any error in the order payload, then in that case, the request payload must be an array of orders. This message will be displayed. Or in case if any of the field is missing, then in that case it will respectively show this message. Similarly, get all orders, it will return all the orders that are available in the system, and with the message order fetched successfully. If there are no orders available, then it will show 404 with no order found. Likewise, the get order API has different parameters, query parameters, ID, integer format, user ID in the string format, product ID in the string format, and eventually you can supply all the values if you want to filter out the order. Like in order number 1, I need to get an order 1 with user ID 1 and product ID 1. So in that case, I should be getting the respective order that I want to filter out from the many orders that are available in the system. And eventually it will also should give 200 if everything is fine and the orders are returned successfully. If the order is not found, it will show 404. And then in the put API, it will be used for updating the order, where you can supply the ID of the order that you want to update. And then finally, In the put request, we need to provide the full request body along with the changes that we want to make. So if you want to make a change in the product amount, then also you need to supply the user ID, product name, amount, quantity, total, text amount, total amount. Rest all of the field will remain same. Only the product amount will get changed here. So this is how the put works. And put has different kind of responses that are available, like 200 will be shown if the order is updated successfully, and eventually if the order is not updated successfully, then 400, 403 and 404 respectively will be shown with the respective message. But one more thing here, if you want to work with the update order, you need to provide the authorization token here. This authorization token can be found in the auth API, and when you try it out, you need to give it a name as admin, and the value as password value should be secret pass 123, and then execute. Once you execute, you will find out the token available here. You can just copy it, and in this authorization part here, paste the token value that you just received. Remove the respective fields that are not required, like message is not required, and the token field, token word is also not required, along with the braces. So these double braces have been removed. In the end also this is removed, and then click on authorize. So we can see the token has been accepted successfully. Now if you go ahead and update the order, then eventually the order should get updated successfully with the respective values. But make sure that you provide the respective values that are available in the respective format, like string format or number format and so on. And similarly, for updating a partial value, like if you want to update only the text amount, you can give only the text amount field here, and the order will get executed. So but the difference between put and patch is that in the put you need to provide the full payload, but in patch you just need to provide the respective field name and along with the value which you want to update. And finally, coming to the delete order, so delete order will eventually delete the order from the system, and it will also show the respective messages. In 204 will be shown if the order is deleted successfully, and when nothing will be written in the response as the order gets deleted. And if the token authentication fails, then in that case 400 will be shown, 403 will be shown if the token is missing, 404 in case if the order ID is not relevant to the system. So this is how the details are available, and there is an health API as well, which will provide us the details around the API status, the server status. Ideally, the server is running since last 367 seconds, and that is how the things with these APIs work. The last part coming to how to import the project in Postman using Swagger JSON. Now, since Swagger is already available, if you want to check out Swagger, the documentation can be checked via Swagger. But if you want to check out the documentation that we discussed around with all the validation and everything, there is a wiki page created in the repository itself. The documentation link has been provided, and you can see each and every validation as well as the values that are required with the respective APIs. Everything has been updated here. If you find anything missing, please do let me know in the you can raise a new issue in this repository and let me know if you want to update anything. I'll be happy to help you out on any other stuff that you feel is required. Now uh, coming to the part where we need to upload the project in Postman. Now what happens is, manually adding up a respective API in Postman takes a lot of efforts, and sometimes if you do not feel comfortable with the APIs, chances are you might leave some of the field, or maybe the body or the payload or any other headers, and that would be a pain point for you because the API won't be running. So in that case, let me delete this existing collection that was previously included and import a new one. So before doing that, let's go to the Swagger, and you can find the steps that are available here for the upload. You need to put up this value swagger.json after the URL, localhost 3004, and after that just paste this value swagger.json and press enter. And once you do this, in the project file, in the project folder, root folder, you will find a Swagger output.json. Let me delete this and then regenerate it again. So let me hit this again. We have already deleted swagger.json, swagger output.json file here. Let's move to this link localhost colon 3004 slash swagger.json and hit enter again. Once you hit an enter, you can see swagger output.json file generated again. And now using the same file, we can import it in the Postman. Let's click on import, and here we need to select a file. Go to the report to the Restful E-Commerce repository, and then select swagger output.json and click on open. It will ask you two options, like if you want to import a Postman collection or Open API 3.0. You can choose any one of that. I'll select this Postman collection and click on import. And as soon as I click on import, I'll see that different APIs that were available in the Swagger, the same APIs are available here. I can update an order, I can add an order, I can get all the orders. And the good thing around this is we have the body as well as everything available here. So we just need to fill in the blanks and then get all the things working here. So BS URL is already added up as a environment variable that can be updated in this value as an environment. And we can get an order, you can put up update an order, get the token, get the health check. Once you click on send, you can see the status coming up as 200 okay, up and running. In add an order, you'll have to update this order values, whatever value that you have. You need to provide some value here, like in the string format you need to provide the value as 1, and the product ID again 1. Let's give it as 11. Product name as watch. Product amount as 300.99. Quantity as 1. X amount say 6.90, and total amount something around 307.90. Same value for the second order as well. Let's give the user ID as 2, product ID as 1, value as iPhone, product amount as 600, quantity 2, tax amount should be in number, so we'll give it a tax as 100. The total value comes at 700.00. And let's hit a send, and you can see the orders are added successfully. There are two orders that we just gave, and the same orders have been coming up in the comment as well. Similarly, if you want to get the values added for the authentication, the username is admin and the password is secret pass 123. S is in small, P is in caps, and then hit the send key, send button, and you can see authentication successful, and the respective token has been generated here. We can copy this token. Let's update an order as well. And here, let's get all the orders first of all. So we can see there are two orders here. Let's take the order object of order number 2 and use it in the update order API. And from the authentication API, let's copy this authentication token, and in the header we need to supply the authorization here. Okay, the body, and the body will update the product ID as 10, and in iPhone 16, let's give it as 6,999 7,999 X amount think around 6500. Total comes to at around 85,500. Let's, for an example, take this value and then click on send. And it says like the authentication failed. Okay. So what happens here is we need to provide this token in the as a bearer token, and this is updated here. Let's add a variable here and select a value as global. So this bearer token, once updated as a global value, can be used in partial and delete order as well. And let's hit the send button here. Okay, we need to provide the order ID, and that order ID can be taken from the get all orders. So the ID is 2 here. I made a mistake, I guess. So this ID need not be supplied in the order object. This ideal ID, in fact, needs to be supplied here. See, the order ID is 2 and rest the body. The user ID is 2, 10, and whatever changes we made. And we can see the order has been updated successfully. Let's get the order by order ID 2. Let's remove all of this stuff and then hit enter, send button, and we can see the order has been fetched successfully. Similarly, to delete an order, we can just give the order ID to. Now remember that we have already set the bearer token. That bearer token has been set as global value, and that is the reason why like we don't need to provide the token again and again. We just need to provide the respective parameters and then hit send, and you can see 204 no content. That means this order has been deleted successfully. Just to recheck that the order has been deleted successfully, let's again hit the get order with ID 2, and then we should be getting this message 404 not found with no order found with the given parameters. So that is all about this repository, Restful E-Commerce. You can make use of this repository for writing your automated tests using Playwright or Rest Assured or Cypress, SuperTest, Boyka-Framework, etc., and many other frameworks that are available like XCS and so on, as okay, HTTP3 as well. And if you want to do a round of manual testing and learn something new around different types of APIs, you can make use of Postman, Insomnia, and other manual tools that helps in performing the API testing manually. So all the very best with your stuff. I have provided you with the tool. It's all up to you to use this tool as you need, as you require to learn and upgrade yourself on the terms of API testing. Thank you so much. I hope you would give it a star to the repository to make it more popular, and spread the word with your friends, and do share and like this video as well. Thank you so much.